Hey everybody, what is up? It's your friends Cory Camp and Brian McGill back at you with a fresh, brand new What's Up Wednesday. It's good to be back, Cory. Thanks for having me back. So it's Valentine's Day coming up.
Yeah, it is. You can see we've decorated, the whole house is just a classroom for us this year with 3 online learners. And so we made this last year, I think. But yeah, we are ready for Valentine's Day here. We've been sending some love through the mail to everyone that we know. And our neighbors brought us a really cool sock puppet kit. So that's been the thing. You've been hearing lots of funny voices and socks dancing around throughout our house this week. But yeah, Valentine's Day up here in the Midwest, there's snow on the ground like I've never seen before. We've been here for 3 years and it's more snow than I've ever seen. So it's been fun.
Yeah, it was really fun this morning driving in my Jeep down to Cannonsburg. Beep, beep, I'm a Jeep. Nothing's going to get in my way. So we got some exciting things to bring to the folks today.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing a really cool panel series here at SIBI called Never Going Back. And, the kind of the theme is, we were learning a lot this year, about our systems, and we're getting smarter along the way. And what things are we learning this year that are going to make our programs better and systems? So in this first panel that I did that we did about a week ago with K-12 leaders, I invited some leaders I thought from one from a major metropolitan area, Joseph Sally, in Atlanta Public Schools, and on the East Coast down in Georgia. Great representation of what's kind of going down there. I invited Dr. Goree, assistant superintendent and one of her principals from a turnaround program that I thought would represent well the Houston metropolis, but like a suburb. And then Dr. Henson from Marlin ISD, he's superintendent out there. It's a country rural district, and I thought they'd just kind of like represent everybody, no matter where you are, right. Because I thought that was just kind of different programs from kind of all over. And so we had some really passionate discussion. We talked about, how we're support people, where we kind of go and get resources now and that kind of thing and stuff. So it was a really great discussion. It is available in the Learning Center, learn.sydney.com, free to attend and access. You can go ahead and get it there. Anyways, looking forward to that discussion. Go in there. And then next week, we're going to do a panel discussion with teacher preparation programs. And I invited folks from like kind of all over, Dr. Irish and one of her colleagues from Shawnee State in Ohio, Dr. Jill Hamilton Bunch and her friends Point Loma Nazarene in California. Okay, Dr. Cater from University of Georgia, and Dr. Grant from here in Texas, Southern University. So we've got, we're going to have all of our partners kind of well represented. We're looking forward to that conversation. In fact, the planning meeting is tomorrow, so get excited. But today we got to have a little bit of overtime for Never Going Back K-12 leaders. And so I've invited one of our panelists, the wonderful Dr. Tonya Goree, to the show. Let's bring her in. Hi, Dr. Goree. Welcome to the party.
Hello. Welcome to the party. No snow to brag about here in Texas.
No snow, but you're hoping to ski sometime. We were talking just before the show. That is not something I hope to
do. Dr. Goree, thank you for participating in last week's panel. It was a really, I think a really exciting discussion and a really passionate one. I think folks are, folks really do want to move forward, and they really interested in all of those things. And it's hard to kind of get to that like technology and instructional leadership piece. You got to identify the resources and kind of bring those pieces together. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the innovations in instructional leadership that you think your program is going. You can go wherever we want in this conversation, guys. Let's go.
Well, I will tell you this. The pandemic, while it has been a challenge, it has been quite challenging. In education, we've always been thrown curveballs. Think about the last 10, 15 years, we're constantly thrown curveballs in education. Now, this one, we didn't have any forewarning. We didn't have any time to prepare. But because we've been in it for about almost a year now, officially, as far as schools closing, we have figured out how to tread the water and survive and do what's important, which is educate kids, because that's what we're here for. So, my coin phrase is challenge accepted. Let me show you what I can do with this challenge that you put out there. So when I reflect on instructional leadership and the things that the pandemic has forced us, well, instructional leaders there's some things to cheer about. Here's one: technology integration. How many instructional leaders have been dying to have every staff member tech savvy, and able to integrate technology and do these various things and take risks? They have to now. They've had to, and some of them have become amazing at that integration. So even though it was forced upon them, that's something they'll take away and be able to use from this point forward. They'll never go back to their old way of one-dimensional teaching, meaning without the integration of technology. Remote learning has validated for a lot of people that this is truly my calling. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that I could really survive this. And when they do the instructional support of that, it takes a very solid instructional leader to say, okay, yes, here's what we've been dealt, but let me show you how we're going to prove to everyone what we can do when we were dealt this hand. So the validation for teachers, how they have built their self-esteem when they have those great accomplishments. The differentiated instruction, not with just technology, but you have to plan for every learner. So if you have a hybrid model and you have remote learners and face-to-face learners, and remote learners need something that the face-to-face learners don't, and even the different learning styles and modalities within that, a lot of teachers have mastered that. They've had to, and they start planning for it. So it's intentional and purposeful. So not just, okay, I'm gonna throw this out here, I'm gonna see what Cory gets and what Brian gets, and then we're gonna reteach. Well, reteach is not as simple when you're a remote learner or when you have that hybrid model. So now I have to integrate all of those different learning needs in my lesson. That's something that instructional leaders celebrate. That's something we've wanted and have always tried to push and encourage. And some were able to master that, and some maybe not. But now, if you have mastered that, it has made life easier for you. And then the last thing I would say is the strong collaboration with colleagues. We like collaborative planning. Here in Cypress Fairbanks, we push collaborative planning. I mean, it is an expectation. It's one of our tenets, so to speak. But the dependency on your colleagues to make sure every student, you are a grade level teacher, yes. A classroom teacher, yes, but you are a grade level teacher. You are the teacher for every student in that grade level or content area. And that philosophy has been brought to the light because teachers, we need our colleagues. You need your colleague to help you plan and be creative with these ideas. So those are a few great things that have happened from the instructional leadership perspective. Outside of also, and I want to hit that technology again with recording those lessons now. I think record this and see how it's going to, because I'm going to post a video for my kids. So the recording, I'm a big fan of that. And I hear teachers saying, "Oh, I didn't like the way that that came out," or, "Oh, I'm not quite sure my kids will understand all of those components. So I'm going to redo that." So it's helping them master their craft there as well, because they're being I don't want to say forced but kind of by the pandemic. They're being kind of pushed into recording these lessons for some of the the learning, posting videos or whatever, if you're using a synchronous and asynchronous model. So it's helping them to master that craft.
Necessity has been kind of the mother of innovation there. Cory, talk to us a little bit about, because you're supporting other programs around Sydney, like, how does that, what Dr. Goree just shared, compare to what you're seeing across your desk?
Yeah, I mean, it's so much, right? It was really, I had to mute myself because I was like wanting to just chime in and relate to all of those things. There couldn't be a better summary, I think. But yeah, as I've been saying this from day one. One of the silver linings for me is it's going to force many of us out of our comfort zones to cross that chasm in technology integration and implement some of the best tenets of blended learning, differentiated instruction. It really forced us to streamline and think very intentionally and just redesign. We've been needing to redesign for a while. This gave us, just the right cause, out of all of that. And so I've seen the same thing, both from instructional leaders. Their work is so much more focused. They've got a greater awareness around social emotional learning needs of adults and adult learning, as well as, our students, and thinking about equity in so many ways, from technology to thinking about our demographics to thinking about all of our students. And it really has sparked some strong conversations. And I get to coach as well in my role here at Sydney, and I've been coaching some online elementary and intermediate teachers. And one of my favorite things, once a week when we meet, I hear one of them say, "I'm using this in my classroom when we get to go back in person," and I love that. Like, I'm just like, yes, that's exactly what I want. I want to make sure that as I'm leading and prompting reflection with those individuals, that I'm helping them see a bigger picture beyond just the immediate need and the very near future, that they're really thinking about, how can this support me now and my students now, but also what can I carry from this lesson in implementing this or this tool into future lessons? I mean, how is this worth it, right? If not just for my current students, but all of my future students. So I think that's been really exciting and powerful in the work. But another big piece is, again, as leaders, it's really causing us to really sharpen our skills and our focus in the work that we're doing, because we are having to reach out in so many different ways, both remotely and in person, to help our teachers do the same thing with their students. And time is even less than we had before, it feels like. So yeah, so many things.
So I guess, Dr. Goree, I mean, if there are any kind of like final thoughts that I think we kind of, leave with the folks, or maybe even some discussion to the future, what might be next, because now there's a new horizon. What we're working in now was the horizon. What is beyond what that new horizon is? What message would you have for the people out there?
Cory hit it on the head when she said teachers are saying, "Oh, I can't wait till I get back. I'm going to use it in my classroom." You have to plan for it. Anything that matters is measured. If it's not measured, it becomes optional. So you have to plan to how will you incorporate as an instructional leader, a way to measure the use of this technology integration and these differentiated lessons. Yes, we've been doing it and doing it pretty well. So now when we bring everybody back together, because when you go back from my online class, maybe 15 students, maybe, it just depends. If here in Texas, in Fairbanks IC, we have choice. I think a lot of school districts are giving choice for face-to-face or in-person. So some of the class sizes have been reduced. Even if you have a hybrid class, you do two small groups. And so my virtual class looks smaller or small, and my face-to-face class may be small. But how do we, when we're coming all back together, in-person instruction, because nothing replaces instruction, face instruction. even though we've done some amazing things remotely. But how do you manage that as an instructional leader to keep that momentum, to keep that drive, to make sure that we're focusing on the essentials still? This is just a side note. I believe that this is also, Corey, you said something to this as well. It has required people to be essentialists. Like I can't teach all those other things that are really, I just like them because they're, fun, creative. Like my teaching is really geared around the essentials and making sure that students have that. And because we know there are gaps, we know that there are going to be deficits across this entire country. Even our gifted kids are going to have deficits because they have not received um, possibly that level of instruction that meets their level of giftedness. So how do we plan as instructional leaders to make sure that we continue to ride this wave and maximize opportunities for children? So that would be my advice to instructional leaders. Start planning now. We know it, we know we're in it. We know what it has been. We don't necessarily know what the future holds as far as the pandemic is concerned, but we do know instructionally we cannot allow this pandemic to force us into major academic deficits for our children.
Yeah, after Better Together last summer, I got to speak with Doug Fisher and Steve Barkley about this idea of what we were hoping would be a return to the school buildings in the fall, about these intensive plans of instruction, and thinking about how we really are looking at acceleration in our instruction to close those gaps. And I know that that's, again, we're hoping in the fall we are able to return to the school building and everyone's able to be back together in person. But like you said, we really don't know just yet how everything's going to unfold with the vaccinations and how everything, will it be safe enough for that to happen? And a lot of school districts are realizing that, there are some things that they've done really well in a remote instruction, or they're looking at a hybrid option, some days in and some days at home within their instruction. So I think it's opened doors for a lot of folks, but you're absolutely right. Thinking about how can we be thinking about that slide in those gaps in learning to be able to support everyone, and remembering what a lot of teachers have learned a lot about small group instruction, how to group their students, going back to that differentiation that you mentioned, some of those big tenets under differentiated instruction, because they are prioritizing that face-to-face, that synchronous time, because most people's days, whether they're concurrent hybrid model, fully online, or some other situation, are thinking about in those realms of synchronous when we're all together and asynchronous. And so continuing to think about how can I continue to use technology as a way to provide some direct instruction or to support practice as I provide instruction in small groups. A lot of districts also paid for they're closer to one-to-one devices than they ever were because of this. And so when we bring all those devices back into the building, how can we continue to use them in a way that's going to be useful? So yeah, absolutely planning for the future. I love that.
Well, I guess this is kind of the final moments of the overtime edition. I kind of want to thank you for bringing on, coming back for this. There were no ties in this webinar. I think the winners have been the folks that have attended this panel, the folks that have listened in. So thank you guys for being winners out there. Dr. Goree, thanks for joining us today. Cory, appreciate you kind of contributing to the conversation. We do have a third and final. I guess I kind of want to announce this. We had the planning meeting for this morning. We do have a third and final panel for the Never Going Back series. That the third and final webinar will be, obviously the next one is the teacher preparation panel. Beyond that, my classmate from VMI, Anthony Oliver, and also a subscriber, he's joined together with me on a Never Going Back equity in education discussion, something that's really important to him and I right now. And we're looking forward to making announcements on that soon. So stay tuned, everybody.
I love it.
So, because Dr. Goree, what is it? What I guess the very first question is, I'll let you get a heads up on this. I mean, I think the very first we decided the first question is what does it mean to have equity in education in 2021? Because I think the game has changed, right? What would I mean? I think that's going to be that's our first question. Did you want to comment on that? Would you like to comment on that?
It's essential. It's essential to have equity in education. So I'm going to tune in so I can hear from those experts in their field. It is definitely essential.
Absolutely.
I think this is going to be a really exciting discussion. Dr. Goree, thanks for joining us today. Cory, thanks as always. Do we want to shout out a couple of people, because I got some shout outs?
Yeah, I do. But before we do that, Dr. Goree, you mentioned now's the time to kind of be planning, right? We've established that. I would love for a conversation around how we are planning and the strategy for that at our Better Together Summit this June. So, maybe you and I can join in and have that conversation with districts all over the country as they think about that, not just K-12, but higher ed and, our corporate learners as well, because that conference really is for anyone vested in professional learning. So, I think that's the next step is like, I've been leading in the moment and learning things, but then how do I look back and look forward simultaneously and make some good action plans? And so, I love that. I just wanted to mention that, Brian, that'd be a really great thing for us to have it better together.
It's a date, Cory. It's a date.
That's right. Yes. Okay. You heard it here first. All right, Brian. Well, Dr. Goree, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll let you go today, but we really do appreciate all of your support and everything that you bring to education, both at Cy-Fair ISD and just to this arena as we think about leadership and turning around schools and supporting coaches and teachers and students. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, Tonya.
Bye.
Thanks for joining. Okay. So
those are shout outs.
Shout outs. So I've got programs with 100% engagement this so far because we're doing the mid-year reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So my friends in Oklahoma, Payne Education Service Center had 100% engagement. I'm so proud of those guys down there. And
got a great program for dyslexia there. Yeah.
Marshall University in West Virginia, 100% engagement. It was amazing.
Exciting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Tina Al and Dr. Tina Al and the I think it was Point Loma University had 100% engagement. So mid-year reviews are in. Where if Jenny Solfridge if you haven't scheduled Jenny Solfridge, go ahead, get together with her. We'll put your customer success report together. Also, if you have questions about your 22 year school plan, get with your account executives. I know a lot of you guys are building your budgets for next year. It's a busy time of year. Cory.
Well, just as usual, I want to invite anyone, if you had a question for Tonya or any of us here on the show today, put it in the comments below. We'll get back to you. And remember, next week, we've got that webinar for teacher preparation programs on the 17th, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So check that out. It's going to be good.
Be there. Be square. We'll see you out there. I'll see you in the chat.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and tune in next week for another episode of What's Up Wednesday.
Well.